This is Johannes.
And this is Sunniva.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at My Island.
This is a legacy game by Reiner Knizia, published by KOSMOS.
It plays from 2 to 4 players in 30 minutes.
So, My Island, the sequel to My City.
Yes.
And we like My City.
We love My City.
We have played, I'm pretty sure I checked, we played 21 of the 24.
Yes.
So we only have like one envelope left.
And we didn't quit because we didn't think it was fun.
No.
Our friend, which we played it with, moved away.
And we never got around to do it. We can basically ask him if we can play the last three ourselves.
Yes, please.
But we could also play it with him sometime. But today we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about My Island. There will probably be some references and because there are similarities to the game. But today we're going to focus mostly on My Island.
Mm-hmm.
My Island is a legacy game where you play 8 chapters, 24 episodes of the game, and at the end you're going to crown the winner of the whole campaign. You're going to score individual points during each episode, and then you're going to get some of these circles, which then is showing how well you're doing in the whole campaign. The game is a legacy game, so you're going to change it up. You're going to change how you score, what happens, and all of that. We're not going to go into spoilers. There's no story in the game,
no,
so there's not going to be...
That is kind of a spoiler.
There's not going to be... No, it's not. It's not going to be any story spoilers. I'm going to try to not talk... We're going to talk broadly about things.
Yeah.
Like what happens.
Yes. We're not going to mention specific mechanisms, but we're going to tell you our thoughts about what we're feeling when we're playing with the mechanisms. If that makes sense?
That makes sense. So, My Island is a tile-laying game. Each episode is going to be almost the same. You're going to flip a card from a deck of cards that's going to show a specific piece. You're going to find that piece, which is kind of hard because the pieces are similar. Many times it has happened that we get a piece and one of us said, I already placed that. Because they are almost like they have been in My City. It was easier because it was blue, triangle. Not triangle, but like blue, polyomino piece. It was easier to find. Here it's harder, but then you're going to find that piece, hopefully the right one, and you're going to place it on your board. It always has to kind of like dominoes. It has to have one edge that is the same as another thing on your board, and there's differences to why you want to place things, and that's going to change throughout the game. But basically, you're going to continue to do that. You can pause, losing a point, and whenever you want, you can say, I'm done, I'm out of the episode, and then the other player or players going to continue playing until everybody is done, or you play through the whole deck, and then you're going to score points and score these campaign points and all of that. We're not going to go into how that works because it's going to change throughout the game. That's kind of the biggest legacy element of the game, but that is how you play. The game has a little bit of artwork.
And a little bit of components.
Yes.
I think the artwork is fine.
Yeah.
It's nothing amazing, but it's very clear what's what, and it looks pleasant.
Yep.
And the component quality is nice, but it really isn't that important with a legacy game because you're going to use it up.
Yeah, I agree. It's not it's a fine game. It's KOSMOS. It's, you know what you're going to get. My Island also comes with a rulebook, which we are a fan of. A few of the pages are for the Eternal game, which you can play if you for some reason want to play the game after you have played it 24 times, you can play it even more. And the base game is very simple, so this rulebook is very simple and easy to understand. The problem comes when you have all of these other sheets of rules. If you played My Island in My City, you know exactly how it is. You know how it is if you play My Island as well, you have seen them. The biggest problem is that at the beginning of all of these rule sheets, it says all rules from chapter, let's say you play like episode 1 to 9. It's going to say all rules from episode 1 to 9 applies. But the problem is that half of them don't. So I don't even know why that's there. It's just like a little bit of annoying because you get you're second guessing yourself because you are, but they did say that you're not getting points for that anymore, or now this works, but now it's saying that all the rules apply, and it's kind of hard to understand it, but it's not to the point where I feel I had to guess. I'm just like having to trust myself that the things I saw was the things I saw and the things I read aloud to you, like now we don't do that, now we do this instead, that the last thing we read was the thing that is actually going to happen. But other than that, not much to say. Is there any player aids?
No, it's okay. I would love a player aid for this game because of the different scoring each time, but that also makes the player aid impossible to make. You have to make a lot of player aids.
But you have basically the one, which is the player aid where you have you have the rule sheet and you have like a reference.
Yes.
So that is the player aid of how everything works. So it's kind of is a player aid. We play the game 2 players, like we usually do with these kind of games.
Yes, and we have actually played this game through.
Yes, 24 times.
Yes.
And it took us between 15 and 30 minutes.
Yes, the later games took longer time, but I think this is a very snappy game.
Yes.
Overall.
Yeah, I agree. Like as most of these games, they get more involved as you go through them, so there's going to be more stuff going on later. But 30 minutes is not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So we talked a bit about all these things, but the most important is, did we like it? How is it? And should you get it? Those are 3 questions we're going to try to answer. We're going to start by talking about the gameplay, which is reminds me a lot about My City.
Yes.
But it's a kind of very bare bones in the beginning, basic tile-laying game.
Yes, and I like the basic puzzle that this game offers. I really loved My Island. My City. And this has a similar puzzle with the spaces and the tiles, but it is different. This is absolutely another game like the basic puzzle as well.
Yeah.
And you want to try to score points in the beginning. It's very basic, but I found that fun and interesting in itself.
Yeah, I really liked this game in the beginning. Like, I really enjoyed it. I had fun. Even though I was like, okay, they're doing this little thing that's very different, and now this part of the game is not as important. But okay, let's see. Oh, it was fun doing this different kind of quests. I'm not going to go into them, like different ways of doing things. I enjoyed that. But then there came a turning point in the game. Around halfway through the game, it introduces something that kind of changed the whole dynamic of the game. And that's going to stay there in one way or another for the rest of the game. And the more times we played it with that, and the longer we came into the game, the more boring and not fun the game was.
Yeah, I really like them trying to find ways to differentiate this game from My City, to do something else, and also to have different parts of the game matter from game to game. That is kind of what makes this game a legacy game, because you don't have the story, you have to have change in mechanisms for it to actually be like something involving and unique. But I felt like they were staying in that, I don't know, I'm going to call it the weird part. A little too long for my liking. I thought in the beginning, okay, they're doing this, they're trying this, okay, not my favorite part, but it's okay. But they just stayed there. And I don't know if it was my expectation that kind of mismatched, but I've just like come to the conclusion that it wasn't that exciting.
No, and we got games where we were kind of not halfway done with the game, but like 70-80% done with the game, and there was nothing really a reason to do things other than to not lose points. And it kind of, it's very weird because the game does one thing. We're not going to go into specifics. I wanted to do it, but I can't. In the beginning of the game, and then the whole thing, there was one thing that you're trying to do, that you try to do in many games, and then suddenly you're not doing that, and it makes no sense, and it's very weird because it's like, oh, something that would make sense now doesn't, and this thing that sounds like it would be best, oh, it would be better to not do it, to do this other thing instead. And then there's many different things that just made the experience worse and worse and stranger and stranger. I also would say like that if you like a legacy game that changes a lot, this is also not the game for you. Because there's like, you are placing the tiles and it just changes like, oh, but now you want to place them this way, or now you want to place them around here. And as I said in the beginning, I like that, but the more different reasons for doing different things came into the game, the less I enjoyed it.
I agree. And I don't think we would have been so eager to finish the game if we were not making this review, because it kind of halted. And and I think that is what I really enjoy about some legacy games is that you look at the board afterwards and you feel like, okay, I made this. Like the box says your island will be unique. It will not. Well, it will be unique, but a boring kind of unique. So not something with an exclamation point on the box cover.
Now, I'm guessing what they mean is like every game, because you're placing tiles differently, but that's not what you're thinking when you're thinking about legacy game. But you know from My City that the changes are going to be minimal. It's going to be, but now when they have that as the tagline, you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe it's going to be more differentiated. It's going to be different like that. yes, all in all, I think that, like, if you loved My Island, we're gonna go into like the weight and the reason for My City. If you love My Island, that's fine as well. But if you loved My City, I think you would have more fun playing that again. And because it's many years since it came out, so maybe you just
it's a really good
forgotten about it, or you play the 2 players and you have half the game left.
One thing I want to mention is that also what I did not enjoy this much with My Island is that, especially to the end of the campaign, there's so many rules all of a sudden, and I have a hard time keeping track of it. And when we were scoring at the end of the game, we almost forgot doing some parts of the scoring because there's so many things to keep track of. I don't remember exactly how I felt about My City, but it was not
in that case. And also the fact that the problem with it is that it changes all the time. So like, oh, this round you're gonna get points for, get like a campaign for doing this, but now suddenly this, and now this is not there anymore, and then you get 2 points for that, but now you're gonna get 4 points for that, but now you have to do it differently and all of that. So it changes, but it doesn't change in a way that makes it feel very different each time, just like in a tiny way. So, like, what and who is it for? Let's do that quickly. It's light, and it's for somebody who have already played My City and really want to play it somehow again and worse.
But if you are looking for something in this genre and you haven't played My City, play My City.
Yes, absolutely. So final thoughts, you know it's going to be a glowing review. Before we do that, if you're getting anything from these videos that we make, then you can help us out in a very fast, cheap, free way, and that is by giving us a victory point.
And we get victory points when you click that subscribe button. You can also click the bell to get notifications every time we post a new video.
Yeah, now, final thoughts time from My Island. Your island will be unique! You begin.
I loved My City. I think it's one of my favorite games ever made. I really enjoy it.
Okay.
And also My Island, I really enjoyed in the beginning. It made my top 10 from 2023.
Would it have been there now if we played
not at
the rest
all.
of it? No.
We had played, I think, a little over half.
60%, I mean.
Yeah, when I put it on the top 10. And I'm regretting it.
So maybe this is going to be the first day we do like a revised top 10 list.
Yes, it's a revised top 10. Well, I think that if I would have rated the game after half of the game, I would rate it like 8.5 or something.
Okay.
Maybe 8.
Yeah.
I like My City a little more, but I enjoyed it so much. But then it was just like, I have to dock it half a point here and there because it's just like got really boring.
Yes.
Sadly. So like I'm trying to remember all the fun I had in the first part.
Yeah, but then again, you can't give a rating for half the game. You can't say to people, buy the game and play half of it.
I'm going to place it at 6.
Yeah. For me, it was so fun. We played it 4 times in a row. Then we usually played 3, so that we got like 2 of the same chapter and then unlocked and did a new one on the first on the new chapter. But then the further we came, it was like, we did 1, I was like, okay. Let's just play once more so we can get it out of the way. And then we kind of had to drag it out to be like, okay, there's only 4 more games. Let's just get them out of the way. I was like, we're going to play 4 of them. And then we played 2. I was like, we're not going to play 4 because this just makes me sad to play. I don't recommend this. I do not do that. You might love it. Like, I know people do like it. But for me, the beginning was so fun. I enjoy myself. I was like, oh, this is fun. I like it. It was like not a heavy, big game. It's like a light, puzzly game, and I love that. But then, as we said in the review part, if you haven't seen it, it just did not work. It was not fun. I'm gonna land at like I think like it would have been like the first in the beginning. It might have been like a 7.5 for me. It's not like the best of the best, but like a fun, pleasant way. So I think I'm gonna land like at a 5.5.
Yeah.
I think it's an okay game. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't want to play it ever again. It's a legacy game, so we won't. But like feelings went so down the hill, so it's not one that I'm gonna remember fondly. I'm not gonna remember fondly either. And that is gonna be the end of this video that you've been watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Cinema.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye bye.